with a drone.
You caught that one. You caught that one.
You couldn't wait. You couldn't wait. You're like, man, this is like,
No.
how long do you? Oh, we call the recording device, it was him.
I think recording.
All right, let's go through the agenda. Yeah, there are a lot of things. On the minutes.
Steve's
Any questions? On the bills, any questions? All right. Environmental council, yeah. Do we have questions on this?
Sorry.
No.
I do, just a clarification, so we're naming the park after.
We're on three.
We're on three.
Nope,
right now.
gotcha. I was on one. Disregard.
Any questions on three? Okay, number 4.
Yes. So is there gonna be a separate agreement as far as if there was talk about getting a sign? That's all. You're naming it after them.
We're correct. The naming, the sign itself, the display sign, the Holmes family is gonna donate the sign to put up, and they're bearing the cost of that themselves.
Gotcha.
So it's technically by this, it's just a name change. There's no cost to the city.
But kind of like we did with the LBC signs.
Exactly.
There'll be an agreement in place. Right, I mean, you're talking a sign, putting it in place, the financial burden. Is not, yeah, so okay, so it's not. And it's just the sign. It's not the park or anything
Yeah.
else. I'm just saying,
Well, they're just providing the sign. Once the sign's in, the sign becomes part of the park. But that's gonna be a conversation for April, because we're doing the name change now, and then it takes time to build the sign.
just wanted to clarify that, there's questions about it. So the whole in perpetuity of the city taking care of something, it's a sign. We're not.
It's if the way it was described to me, the sign would look similar to the sign at Heritage. When you come down Main Street, it's just a 2 4x4s cemented in the ground with a wood plaque type of sign, and then they're gonna build that wood plaque type of sign, whether it's laser engraved or stamped or however you, I'm not a woodworker, but how do you do woodwork? That was it.
So there would be a formal agreement that the mayor would sign? Mr. Roth,
They're donating it to the city, becomes our property, we're then responsible for it.
so there would be an agreement.
We could do an agreement, I don't think it's necessary. It's donated to us, it's our, as Chris said, once it's part of our park, it's part of our, but
But that's
So
also,
there is no agreement.
that would also take place in April, when, if and when a sign is provided. Right now, there's no talk of a sign.
no, this
There-
is nothing to do with this.
nothing to do with-
This is
the park.
the
Name
name
of the
this is
park.
just the name of the park.
And eventually, they're gonna build this sign, and then they're gonna present, so hypothetically, if they brought us a sign the size of a submarine, we could say, no, we don't want to accept the sign the size of a submarine.
I would like to see a sign.
Correct, you're gonna see the sign, and then they'll make the determination, but that's down the road, we're talking practically April. Springtime.
But there is no agreement, I just want to clarify.
There's no agreement about a sign today, there's no agreement about
And
the,
there wouldn't need to be.
No, they could donate. it.
once they
If
donate,
we accept it, then we're responsible for it. If
the
we
mayor can
reject
accept the
it,
sign, put the sign in his office, look at it, and go, the sign is so big, I cannot put this at the park, and tell them we want you to take your sign back.
I hope they show us a rendering first, that's what I do.
Yeah, something of that nature, but.
I'm sure.
So mayor, you'll work with the family?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna go Rosewood.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okay. Next is the, 4%. Increase for the above mentioned positions. Any questions on that?
And email questioning that was. Not getting response.
I couldn't answer. I couldn't answer, let them answer, I don't know the legal.
Yeah, so the question being a holdover, not a department head, is this. Doable?
Short answer is yes, we've done our legal analysis. The elected position was terminated by the charter change. It's now an appointed position. So pardon me,
We have
I'm
appointed,
filling the position as a holdover.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with the position itself. The position is appointed, this raise goes to the position. Okay, Uh. So the fact that I'm a holdover only affects the occupant's security of tenure. Has nothing to do with the position itself. So whoever is in the position is entitled to receive the benefits and pay of that position. So you cannot apply the election law salary restrictions to this.
To the position.
To this position, because the elected position was eliminated when the charter was changed.
Got
So there's no bar as far as we were able to determine that would prevent this resolution from going forward.
So even more so, if we're talking about that, if there was an appointment of that position, they would negotiate salary at that point. I mean, it's not a posted salary. anymore.
Well, I can't just appoint it, say I'm gonna do it tomorrow, I'm gonna wait for definition point in civil service.
Right.
Well, that's just on the classification.
That's
That's a wholly separate different issue.
I guess I'm just saying I'm not in favor of actually putting this in here and putting it in place. Because if there is an appointment, there's negotiation of salary applied to that as well.
Yeah, but that's the same in any appointed position.
Right.
When you appoint a new DPW,
So it's just a moot point that there's. And I'm not trying to. Split hairs. I just think that. We'd be better off at least eliminating that part of it, moving forward. Instead of bundling that all, yeah, and it's for the position, I get that, I'm not looking to take away from it, but I'm just concerned about it. Currently being a holdover position. Technically still.
anyone who is going to be appointed to be like any other appointed
Right.
position. When they hire a new chief, or when they hire a new DPW.
But I guess-
They don't start at the salary of the former guy, you
Right.
set the salary.
Right.
So it's done.
So I mean, it's just kind of a moot point, it just seems unnecessary. Yeah, that out there, it seems to be questionable. Am I looking at this the wrong way? We have a position that's not filled, that's not appointed for, that we're getting a 4% raise for. Regardless of all of this,
Well, the
You guys
position is filled.
you guys already passed the budget for 2025 and it's already part of the budget. But I'm just saying. I don't know, it just
The
doesn't.
position is filled, the job is being done, and the work is being completed. So as a department head, which he is, it's a position that's going to be getting the person, that's going to get raised to work.
And
If
there
it
was
was
no,
absent, it'd be different.
there was no raise for this position last year.
Right.
So it was
Because
done
it was
last
elected.
year,
Because it was elected last year. correct?
no,
No,
my term expired December 31st, so this year, 2024, I'm a holder. There was no raise. In January, the council didn't give the position a raise. So there was no raise this year. If this gets removed, there'll be no raise for 2 years.
it's not fair to the individual.
There's no individual.
You know?
It's just like a bit of a circular reference. There's no individual.
It is.
Well,
When we appoint somebody, then I think we address the fact that
no,
it's a.
the position is filled by a holder. There is an individual in the position. That's what the law provides on the code of office.
So you are the position,
I am the position.
and if we pass this. We're giving you 4%.
Correct.
Any question?
I don't know, it's just kind of.
Then why don't we
You
just
ask the
appoint?
person to make an assessment on whether or not they're getting a real raise. I think it's-
I mean, we appointed still waiting to hear back on a final determination on the treasurer, but appointing the treasurer. And I think there's still some question. I'm just saying it. Let's just appoint, either appoint Michael, put a resolution out there and then deal with the salary at that point.
Did you review the legalities behind the city attorney? Do you?
I did, I'm the one that, to be frank, I'm the one that proposed that there's no limit on Mr. Hoover receiving the raise that he did not receive last year, so. I'm being in full transparency and open with the council, it was my suggestion that the position be considered for the additional raise. I would note, and I've expressed this, I think, independently before, so nothing having to do with obviously the council's consideration of the heard. But we are the most underpaid position in all of the other municipalities that I've ever done work for, and in comparison to all those for which I don't do work for. I think I've expressed to you before that my position alone, I am underpaid by $10,000, and have always been. I love what I do for the city. I'm not at all suggesting that the city needs to consider more compensation for the deputy city attorney. But I think if you look at the totality of benefits provided by the city, we're grossly underpaid. And so again, it was my suggestion that this council consider a raise for Mr. Ruitt. There's no restrictions on it, despite his occupancy as a holdover. He is serving a position he's entitled to, and I'm providing Mr. Ruitt the case law to support the same.
Thank
So it was my analysis.
I don't argue that. They're underpaid positions, you know, definitely should be brought up. I mean,
Sure.
the argument for what's that?
Well,
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I just kind of take issue that we're still sitting in a holdover position. at that point.
You still
And
have someone serving as your city attorney.
I get that, again, I just feel like this.
I have a question about the term grossly underpaid. So one of the statements that came up during the handbook was it had to be reviewed by legal. My question was legal Webster Grisani or was it you two? And the answer is both. So we're in this unique position that you guys are grossly underpaid, but we give a boatload of money to an independent law firm to do work that you guys are also doing. So we're essentially paying twice.
Just so you know, there's very few circumstances when you have two sets of attorneys doing the same exact thing. So in that situation, obviously, you have labor counsel that's concerned about the labor effects. And then you have your independent city internal counsel that is considering all the other effects it might have collaterally. So I can't think of an occasion where we've duplicated the work of your labor counsel. They have a very specific directive in what they do for the city. And they're paid and compensated for what they do. So I suggest to you that you examine the hours that both your city attorney and your deputy city attorney do and compare that to what you offer your outside counsel. Because you will see a sharp discrepancy. Again, I appreciate everything I do for the city. I would never not do what I do for the city, but to your point, why don't you look at what you pay your outside counsel?
No, I mean, that, again, still not my point. I take an issue with, then let's point somebody in bullshit, so. I agree with you 100%. I'm an IT guy, I'm a lawyer, so I'm gonna lose this argument 100%. I'm not gonna wheel this there. Again, I'm just kind of hyper focused on the point of the position that's still sitting here as a holdover position. And it has been for a year, and just, so I'm just kind of setting that precedence with that conversation that we need to, you know, do something.
Is it still a holdover position because we're waiting on the state civil service to make a determination?
Correct, because no appointment has been made to the position.
But it's state civil service or city civil service that's holding this up?
Or are we even being held up by an answer? Again, did we get a determination on the city treasurer?
We have not.
Yeah.
Oh, we appointed a city treasurer.
Civil Service has submitted this to the state. But I don't know if they haven't checked this.
But where are we with the city attorney spot? Are we hung up at the city civil service level or are we hung up at the state civil service level? Where's the hang up as far as
Who's making the final call?
on whether, that's what's causing the holdover position, right? They don't have a determination of whether or not we can
It's a
appoint.
classification of how the positions are classified under the civil service.
Who makes that classification, city or state?
The city made the classification, it gets sent to the state for approval.
And we're still
So the
waiting on
city
state approval?
classified us a certain way and sent it to the state.
So we're still waiting on state approval.
Haven't heard yet.
Right, because and I've said this before at previous council meetings, I'm gonna say it again, I've spoken to the civil service commissioner himself, Tim Hose. Who then gave me his number and said, if you're having a problem on my end, call me and the state will correct this as soon as possible. And we keep getting told, we don't need to make that call yet, because we're still waiting on the city end. But if you're saying the city had to send it to the state side, then we're ready to call the state side, we're ready to make that phone call and say, what's taking so long? That sound right?
Who's contacting the state? Ours, or you?
And we've got no response?
Or if, all the time, or we.
We haven't been updated.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing's in their minds. I mean, if you give us that number, we'll be happy to reach out.
I will make sure I email it to you tonight, absolutely, perfect, I'll send it to you directly. With you as a CC.
Yes, perfect.
Just this way you don't know who's kind, I don't know where this ball of wax is going, I'll make sure you both have a phone number to call.
Yes, I guess my final point on it is, given that the positions are grossly underpaid, I think we're doing the position that is serviced by going with where we're at and giving 4% raise. I mean,
There should be more.
I don't think they're.
4% will keep in line with everybody else. Once the decision is made, then we can negotiate.
I don't think 4% is gonna make up for gross.
I'm saying we need to stay consistent with other department heads, and then what we have been consistent with what we haven't been in the past. And if we do that now, and then when the position is granted that we can do it, then we sit down with Mike and we make an offer to Mike.
In that respect, is the city clerk considered a department head?
The city clerk is considered a department.
Should clarify that.
Yeah, if I can. Okay, who wants it? All right, then next, Mr. Rua. Did you take a look at this resolution?
I did that for them.
Any thoughts?
It's fine, it's authorizing the mayor to execute a negotiated agreement with the soccer club to protect their interest in them spending the funds to place the shed on our payment.
Okay.
The resolution is requiring the mayor to take into consideration the terms set forth in the resolution.
Okay, you had no qualms about the no expiration date?
No,
All right,
again, the mayor is about to negotiate the final terms. According to this.
The mayor runs day-to-day, can do review it anyway, by doing this way, the resolution. If I leave here in a year, this resolution stays in place for the next mayor, so they can't kick them out and maybe move the shed.
It protects the soccer.
Yeah.
Protect the shed.
In case the city is fickle and says,
Right.
spend your money, build your shed, and then next year they say, take your shed.
So move it out.
Right.
And also that letter, the agreement that we're talking about was already signed by the mayor on October 21st. So this is retroactive to that letter. And the reason for that wording is, as we saw with Tonawanda football, they came in with a letter, which is an agreement, not a contract, and they already spoken about that. But it wasn't solidified by council resolution for their protection. So that's a total different issue. But this is, like you said, the shed is approximately 5,000 to 7,000 they're looking at spending. It's gonna be an independent shed. I talked to the building inspector, it's about 144 square foot is there. It's pretty much an Amish shed that comes in on a flatbed tow truck and they slide in, and that's why the last one talks about moving the Department of Public Works and Parks Department, it has to be moved. But it is an independent standalone shed, so if someone comes in, like the mayor said, 2 years from now says, we don't want that shed in this park, get it out of here. And they don't have some type of protection in place, they could end up having a $7,000 shed with nowhere to put it. You can't even put it in your backyard, you won't be able to get it through the houses because they're already assembled. What's the code? That's why it's the 144 square feet. And it is,
Yeah, sure.
they have to have the certificate of insurance, they
It
have.
protects the organization, certificate of insurance is important. I met with Little League yesterday, Honolulu. We met with, the football clinic's gonna be in January. Now, the cycle has all three organizations, the youth organizations will have some type of agreement in place to protect it. And that's important, because I don't want somebody to put in there, to change, make them do something that is not beneficial for the kids.
Okay. Any other questions on it? Okay, let's go around the room. Mr. Fisher. Mr. Rollins.
I got nothing.
All right, yeah, can you come forward, please? All right, you want me to go first? Okay, all right, I know you want to spend a few minutes, talk to the council.
So the first two sheets are an analysis, and then the next couple of pages were brought to us by a company we met with our fire department. With the idea to purchase a new pumper. We're looking at a price tag on the third page. If you look at it, the third page is all are. We're looking at basically a price of $1.1 million. Give or take, just easy enough. They gave us, 3 different financing years with 3 different rates. And then also give us an option with a down payment. This is only the first company that we've worked at for leasing opportunities. There might be other companies out there with rates, but just kind of a starting point to get the ball rolling about how we're gonna finance a pumper. So then the 2 analysis charts on the front. 2 pages, basically, you're looking at, the top set of numbers is the 7-year. Next set is the 10-year, and the last set's the 12-year. And that's obviously, the first one's without the down payment, the next set is with the down payment. So basically just taking our payment, breaking it out into our principal and our interest costs. Considering the law, the potential of the interest that we would make by not by holding the money here and going through the lease and not, doing a capital balance. There's the interest numbers all the way there, but the last number on the right, pretty sure. To avoid some of these costs, I'm thinking we just brought in a nice chunk of change to the ARPA funding. Our fund balance is pretty healthy. I would think something like this kind of qualifies for that one-time big purchase expenditure. Saving us, 190,000 lease payment a year, which if we think back to budget time, about a 1% increase is 150,000. So you're looking at over a 1% increase to pay for this lease every year. As well as, you're gonna cost yourself, if we do a 7-year, it's about 200 grand in interest. 10 years is about 275, and 12 years is about 350. Kind of just throwing some scenarios. We could also capital finance it. I think that would probably be a little more expensive than the lease, as well as we're starting to capital finance a lot of our sewer capital type projects, and you can't really lease those. So this kind of gives us another tool and another financing mechanism when it comes to our our metrics, when we get measured for our bonding and things like that. You can't really lease a piece of sewer. You can lease a fire truck, I guess, is where I'm getting at when we think about trying to capital versus lease with apparatus.
So is the thought that the lease is better or now we're purchasing?
I think the outright purchase at this point is kind of on leaning, basically to, do that one-time fund spend and not use the one-time fund income of the ARPA funding to balance our budget essentially. Kind of push that, we keep saying this cliff, we always have this healthy fund balance. Well, if we spend some of our fund balance to prevent some of these future expenses, that cliff's gonna come shorter and closer to us, and we gotta make that tipping point decision of, are we gonna run out of fund balance money, or are we gonna bring taxes? Are we gonna cut expenditures more seriously, whichever way, our residents want us to go? If they want us to keep the level of services, then obviously the taxes are gonna go up. But if our residents are telling us to cut taxes, then, that's telling us we gotta cut services, what can we cut? And that, it kind of speeds that decision up by not having as much money around with the fund balance, but that decision being sped up is aided by not having to spend 190,000 a year to pay a lease, right? We gotta pay the 1.1 million either way, whether we pay it now or paying it later. That's where we're coming up with a little.
What you guys, you had a pumper that was putting thousands and thousands of dollars in, was putting Band-Aids on. And it's not gonna be working this far. When we order a pumper, it's gonna take 2 years to put that and get it in. So we're gonna be hurting that. We're not sure that the pumpers will last 2 more years. Now, the price goes up after January 1st too, but that, it's not gonna be, we even got a consideration of pumpers that's gonna go up. But you're looking at over a 7-year period, just an interest, $200,000. We do the math, it's just, to me, either we cut that, we cut services, we're gonna be lacking a pumper, we need a pumper. I think it's just a no-brainer. We have to do it, we have to, take a look at the, finance part of it, and finance part of it is 1.1 million, come out that way. We'd rather spend $200,000 in interest over 7 years. So we've already had it in many times for 10,000, 12,000 for repairs, and it's not gonna let me.
What's the? I guess what's the breakdown on a lease for a fire truck for a certain amount of time? Is it like you're buying a car? get a residual value.
No,
and it's
we
not
would,
just
we're,
office
no,
equipment.
no, this is more of a capital type lease, we full own it, it's kind of another type. It's more of a loan than it is like a car lease, we will fully own the apparatus. I actually think the way the terms of the lease are, we own it at sale and then it's
Sale.
sort of a mechanism to pay finance. Yeah, because, when you start getting in your operating capital lease finance discussions, there's certain metrics of, X amount of residual value versus cost and everything, and obviously. We take this 193 and you look at the principal and interest with their interest rates they've given us. Their principal ties rates out what they were paying principal. It's not like we're short paying the principal and then they retain it at the end of, the 7 years. We fully are paying our principal and we're going to fully get that set, where like a car lease, you typically don't pay your entire principal amount by the time you're in your car lease. And then that's why, you gotta, they take it back, you can either take it back or not.
From a
Because you have,
business standpoint, that kind of piece builds into your general ledger and how much you value equipment for a period of time that no affects your fixed.
Correct.
We're not a business,
Correct.
but I mean, this doesn't necessarily make sense in a municipal kind of.
It makes sense in the sense that you can still save the interest. In the, and you're saying lease versus borrow is what you're going at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just comparing.
Like to lease it versus to capital finance, what through the.
Right.
So you save on one, this is more instant, we can do this right now here today, we sign an agreement, go through it, we don't have to put a resolution through bond council, through bond attorney, everything. Two is obviously the fees, the cost of that bond council. We have the set rate here now, we won't get our bond rating until May, when we go to bond, they're gonna see what I mean. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that could change now to your now to financing, as well as, when you start looking at, your debt to equity ratio, your debt to cash ratios, your, cash available on hand and that type of stuff. Leases get considered a little bit differently than when you do your financing, it doesn't look as much like outstanding debt as when you see the big long-term permanent finance debt. Skips the ban stuff, most of our stuff goes to the ban and then we permanently finance it, so.
I'm just wondering, maybe the chief could give us a better input. Is the pumper priority or is a ladder truck priority?
Right now, the pumper is priority.
Pumper is a priority. The ladder truck's in better shape than, worse shape than the worst pumpers in good shape, type of thing.
We're gonna get more years from the ladder truck. But currently going through a refurb right now, we have to consider that going forward, but the immediate need right now, because of the build time would be.
Which pumper is this?
Engine one is a 2003 American Electronics.
So I have a couple questions with that. So is that a true statement though? If we decided to buy it today, it would take 2 years to get it?
Can I, yes, at least that, can I include the committee I put together? They've been talking to, these experts for some time. They have some information, so Captain Miller, Captain Sereno.
So-
Includes the designated speaker here.
So the question I have is, two-part question is, one, if we ordered it today, does it take 2 years?
It's a 2-year build time.
And then if we get it in 2 years, he says the truck we have now is a 2003. What's our trade-in value on a 2003, 2 years from now?
It's not really a trade-in, it'd be auction.
Okay, on an auction, I'm not gonna hold you to it, just a spitball round number. What do you, I mean, is it 10 grand, is it 50 grand? Like,
What have we seen in the past?
what would we see on some type of return on this?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
From what I've been indicated from a couple of different sources, it's about 5 grand. Basically, the only use for it because it's a LaFrance, which has gone out of business at this point. Our best bet is to sell it to the city of Buffalo, and they're gonna take it for parts. It's
worthless.
it's gonna go
It's-
to auction. We're gonna get the same money we're gonna get for it now, or we're gonna get for it in 2 years.
So I could buy it and just make a parade truck out
Yeah,
of it.
there's
that way, that's
a
useless.
there's a guy, I think within the city that owns like 2 or 3 of them. They got like 2 of them, so yeah, you can. Yeah, go ahead, give us more than 5 grand, please.
So the question back to you then, getting it back to you is, so I'm seeing the 5% interest rate. So if you're saying we take the $1 million out of the bank, which we have, which you're saying we have a healthy reserve fund. We save this 5% over 7 years.
Yes,
So in your professional opinion, is that the better option? It's just to bite the bullet, pay the $1 million, order the truck now, get on the 2-year waiting list and not have to worry about I mean, I'm looking to buy a $50,000 car and the bank says 5.54 interest, I lose my mind. So now you're talking about buying $1 million car and they're telling you 5.54% over 7 years. Right? And you're saying we have a healthy reserve fund, Mayor, I think it's number 200,000 now over 7 years. So we're essentially saving 200,000 just right off the rip by going to the general.
Yeah, the numbers are.
I didn't see.
So,
Where's it
so
show?
here's your interest cost.
So this is total
Here's
interest,
what we-
26,
But, yeah, so this is the 7 year,
Yeah.
right?
10 years,
12.
and this is what we say.
So here, no, here's your interest cost, right? So there's your total
Total
payments, right? Is your payment, total payments, there's the total interest, there's your interest cost.
So that's what we say.
Now, this is what we could be if we are, sorry, so if we hold this money here, this is what we're gonna have on hand.
Yeah.
Right, if we go with the leasing option, and then we spend our payment, we have that, spend our payment, have that, and then on our payment.
Yeah.
So that's the money we're gonna make on interest until we get to the point where we're starting to just pay the principal and we start losing money on interest. So your interest cost minus your potential interest that we are giving up, you know what I mean, that we would earn then. Gets you to your net interest of the three numbers here in the different scenarios.
The
Obviously,
parentheses is what we're spending, though. And so in
That's the
every
loss.
single scenario, there's a loss. There's no way, unless we pay up front. There's no way to break it. Every single scenario, the lowest scenario you have is $188,000 loss.
That's a 7 year, and that's
7 year on a lease on one
and that
point.
would still be, and then we also have to then budget every year for 190,000,
That's where the
which is over a 1%.
Where if we do one direct shot out of the general fund with the ARPA funds coming in now to offset, we have a possibility of paying for this thing and not passing a bare minimum 188 all the way up to 250. Well, you got 441, depending on what option we take.
Well, but that 441 would be, so if we give the money out all at once, right? We won't make the 3% interest on it over that 12 years, right?
Right.
So that's where I kind of net out the interest that we would make by keeping that money around and having a lower payment. We have that money around, so that's where you get the interest earned to back it out of what our total interest cost is. So the interest cost on a lease is gonna be more than what it actually costs. City, because we make that little bit of interest by keeping that 1.1 million around and spending it out over time.
Lease or
versus-
incurring the charges.
Exactly. Right.
With a bond, we're not incurring charges, so we actually.
Bond it.
This isn't really a lease versus bond argument. This is more of, do we wanna general fund it or finance it?
And that's where I'm circling back. So I guess my first question, we'll talk about we just passed a resolution last meeting. Applying this ARPA funds to the 2023. So you're saying we're gonna rescind that and apply it towards the truck.
No, we can do, so basically, I'm asking for the council to put a resolution through to commit a portion of our fund balance to move it from the unassigned to the assigned. And then when the bill for the truck comes, the money is around to just pay for it. It would be a general fund. I believe it's sometime before that. I remember when there's a timing, it's definitely, I think there's a schedule that runs due throughout the bill. As well as there's advantages.
So upfront payment, direct, whether it's leasing option or we do a direct payment, there's a 5% savings automatically credited to the bill. The other thing to think about, the mayor did mention costs they're looking at going up for next year. They're estimating across the board, doesn't matter manufacturer, at least $200,000. So take
This
the,
locks us into that.
this would lock us into this cost and also locks us in before the new motors that are being developed come into play, that they haven't even hit the streets yet. So we avoid all the problems that are gonna come with this brand new motor. It's a diesel motor, but it's not even in a apparatus yet. So you're gonna have all these problems of a first generation motor that we now have to take on with maintenance costs. So that was another reason why we're looking at trying to get this as quick as we can.
So if we get this as quick as we can, right now, as we sit here in December of 24, what truck would you be buying, a 25 or a 26?
It would be a 26 build. The company that we're looking at, and I do have, if the council would like, I do have spec sheets, or just a general layout. They can guarantee us getting the motor that is gonna be going out of production at the end of the year.
And you're saying save $200,000.
Yeah, that's a significant savings.
It's bigger.
Yeah,
it's the same,
That's if you pay up front. So that's either the lease or, you know, already you've committed to the funds up front.
So I'm gonna help you on the fire truck thing here. So you have this pumper, I see like there's a spot for hoses and all that stuff.
Yep.
So all the other stuff, you don't have to buy everything new. You already have stuff. You just move to this truck, correct?
Most of the equipment will move over with the new truck.
So this price tag we're seeing is for the truck. You have the equipment to stock the truck. Once the truck shows up, you're up and running. It's not, we're not gonna then be here in 2 years going, now we need 100,000 for hoses and fire hydrants and
Correct.
extinguishers and all that stuff. So we're, okay.
Have to be young.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, what, what's our rat?
I'm just teasing.
More expensive.
Do we get the,
No, there's no difference in cost on it.
I'm sorry if you mentioned it already, what's the name of the truck?
It's a Rosenbauer, is the brand. It should be listed in the bottom
Right there.
corner there, so.
Is that the same as what we bought past?
We've been buying Spartans. So one of the things as a committee we did pool the entire department. You know, seeing where everybody's thoughts were. There's a number of manufacturers. We've also talked to a number of departments. NT runs Rosenbauer's. That's where they're committed and they have absolutely loved it. So. One of the nice things with Rosenbauer is the majority of parts are a Fleet Pride or Napa purchase. So we don't have to look at, all right, it's proprietary, we gotta buy it through peers and potentially have them install or fix it.
is Spartan proprietary parts?
Some, they do have some. So,
And I think you said the lead time on the Spartan was almost double, right?
no, the Pierce was the other one we were looking at, that would have been done.
I mean, overall, I mean, it just makes financial sense to spend that money. My big concerns were just like $2 million to balance the budget this year to keep the taxes under the tax cap. And we won't know how that works out. You can argue back and forth if you have a healthy balance or not. I have my doubts with one thing.
You did in 2022.
Right.
2020.
But we continue to get these one-time windfalls that keep us carrying forward. You're lucky as hell. I get it. But I'm just saying,
That kid keeps kicking.
He's the part that's worth awful damn hard and I'm not money. And we carry that forward. That's what.
I'm not arguing that,
It's not
Sam.
lucky.
What I'm arguing, looking at,
Don't say luck, it's a long way.
I'd say 1.7 million on the ARPA funds that were balance. Very one shot. But what I'm saying is, we're not gonna have an answer until March of next year, how 2024 shakes out. So we're not even gonna know how this plans or whether I'm wrong, and I'll say I'm wrong, and I'm fine. I'm just hesitant about that, of where we're gonna stand. Even if it is off a little bit, $1 million, $1.1 million makes sense, especially with the savings, moving forward. Yeah, it just doesn't make good sense. But I do have a question is, bring this to us now. When we had budget talks, and we had budget everywhere, the conversations never come forward. Are we just finding out now that this thing is completely shot, or are we just making a determination, or is this?
The pumper?
Yeah.
Well, it was slotted, I believe, in capital 20.
We projected 27 for the engine, and with the apparatus replacement program that we had to remove from the budget this year was to build to get to it. So, in lieu of that, we're looking for different avenues how to proceed to get this. And so we're entertaining leasing, which a lot of the municipalities are doing. Even but with the ARPA funds, that is something new that is.
I understand, and the vehicle fund, I mean, that's potato, it's coming out of the reserve fund, which is fine, it's great to plan for it. I appreciated that it was in there, but when we were putting a budget this year, obviously we were trying to keep our reserve fund. And again, I'm not arguing the fact that you guys can get truck emergency services. I'm just reminding everybody that a large chunk of money was taken out of there. I think you're still on the guys to where 2024. As to what we're gonna do, I'm in favor of using reserve funds, and that's all of the idea of the reserve fund policy that we passed several years ago. That if we have the funds, so that these are the kind of things that we want to pay for, not artificially keeping the taxes. Just gonna make that dig one more time.
So, Adam, would you write a resolution for the council to review for our next meeting? authorizing use of the ARPA funds. For this purchase.
I don't know that we wanna say ARPA funds specifically, but fund balance,
we-
yeah.
we have to be transparent on
In 2023.
what line we're taking it out of, so. Whatever terminology.
It's not-
you
it's coming out of
want
the fund balance.
It's the
So
unassigned funds,
if you look at our fund balance sheet, it's gonna move from the 9.7 million unassigned into the 4.7
we,
assigned.
we just have to notate that in the resolution.
Exactly.
So what do we need to do, go across the around the room, because it's gotta be ordered, if I say the couple $100,000, before the first. So we put in a resolution to that after the first, we'll be late, so if we went around the room, I just don't know.
So, Mr.
Yeah,
Clerk,
we do.
can you pull the council?
Yes. Councilmember Fisher,
What is the poll for? What are we polling?
this poll for a resolution.
Authorizing
1.1.
one, second.
Protocol for out of the general funds, we're not leasing and we're not, yes, I vote yes.
Councilmember Rousseau,
Yeah, okay.
Councilmember Mylum,
Absolutely.
Council President Cook.
Absolutely. There you go. Yep, we'll have the resolution at our next meeting.
Get the paperwork written.
So you can get the Rosenbauer, then we can get rid of some of the releasing.
Yeah.
You wanna do it right to Rosenbauer.
Saves us that kind of money.
Thank you, Adam.
The same as future budget.
Mayor, if you can do anything for Ron.
Number one is we have, three new revenues that came in, and these are non-recurring revenues. 49,000 came in from Niner, which you received the check already. 40,000 from insurance from independent health. We had some people that were on independent health that were not supposed to be on independent health. They gave us a $40,000 reimbursement for that and a $7,000 check from FEMA for the work that we did. My office, both Sharon and myself, in trying to get the FEMA money that we received over $100,000. And they're paying us for our administrative work, $7,000. So those are three non-recurring ones that happen. I also want to remind people that, we had a Simmers crane, it's actually part of Spalding. And it's a 1.9 acre triangle on the east side across from, Milton Cat. And we've been fighting back and forth, and some reason our administration before, which was Ron Pelosi before, it was really before, but they wrote a 25-year right of first refusal and right of purchase, so you couldn't do nothing until they made a decision. Well, they finally made a decision. Mike's working right now to get that legally sent to us. They're not going to be responsible for it no more. And the custom millwork behind them, but they just sent me a letter of intent today. So now we're gonna work with the contractor with them and they let it buy it. So to me, that's a good sign for the first time, so you can get something to look over there. Next is I mentioned we have a meeting with the Little League yesterday, Tall. We do the same thing with the football, TFC, right after the first, commitment that we made. You're gonna see, the lighting contest together with the Parks and Recreation. Furious Landscaping is sponsoring it. They are picking out the winners. I was hoping to have them by tonight, to announce the winners, but, Mr. Fiorillo is under the weather and sick, so he will have it to me by hopefully early next week. So I will post it on my webpage, and I would appreciate if you pull the winners up, post them on yours, so we can acknowledge to the public who the winners are. I think that would be important. And the other thing is, the name in the hub I mentioned before, we're working with a couple of companies. The company we're working with now that may be moving is Roswell. To put money towards a set fee every year, such as the Western Linear fee. So we're gonna keep some naming rights, so the old company we're working with, they out and we're trying to say new. You're gonna see trees over at the, the DPW did a nice job. They're trying to increase the parking lot, between Paul, Town American Little League and the soccer. We didn't take them down for parking. I love trees. I'm a tree man myself. We are a Tree City USA. The trees are taken down because they're infested with emerald ash borer. I got pictures of the hollow trunks. I mean, hollow all the way through it. We took them down for liability reasons. We don't want trees to fall on any cars. We don't want any limbs to fall on any kids. So the amount of traffic that we felt it was the best interest for the city to remove those, and that's what we did. So if anybody approaches any council people, please, I got the photos to show it. I took the pictures today to protect ourselves. And, that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Make a motion to adjourn our informal and go into our formal. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Rounstrau, all those in favor? He's got
Built it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Council President, can you hear me? Jenna, can you hear me? Jenna, can you hear me?
Yeah, this is the first time. Normally I'm more pretty.
Our veteran here?
What?
Is our veteran here?
Testing,
Are we moving?
testing, can you hear me?
Well, I want to put this Mario stuff to bed. However, Jim's not here.
Yeah, we don't have anything from like Vicky yet.
We don't have anything.
I don't even know where that is.
Talk to the chief and forward the information on.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope it's set.
yeah.
You get it?
Yeah, say we wait for the recommendation.
Mhm.
From like Vicky. And it's like council, I was doing like. That we're spending thousands and thousands. and
Oh, for the
thousands of
complaint
dollars.
against us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not so hard.
Testing,
He's looking at
Can you hear me?
But it's.
No, not really. Oh, I mean, yeah, but the phone in there. He's looking at his. Oh, I see.
All right, so look, let's wait until.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not on. They're not on, but yeah, no, thank you. That I don't know. Who knows? I don't even care anymore. I'll put that on record.
On record. I just want a red truck.
You know what?
Today?
Is your husband there?
He's in the hall, they're in the hall.
Oh. All right, are we ready?
We get done by 8.
Testing, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Excellent.
I just change the name. Welcome home. Can you hear us, Mario?
Yes, I can hear you.
Always welcome.
I can hear you now.
Marshall. Can you hear me?
Has that already been around like 10 years or so? Like it's
We
been
can hear you,
around a
Mario.
while. Thanks, Sean.
All right, let's call the meeting of the City of Tonawanda Council to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council members Sheasley is excused. Fisher,
Here.
Roudstrow,
Here.
Mylum,
Here.
Cook,
Here, please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. I ask you just keep in your thoughts and prayers today the family of the late Tom Newman. It was 3 years ago today that Tom passed away. As you know, he was a sitting council member from the first ward. Thank you. You may be seated.
Turning it over to him.
Yes.
Little wheelchair.
Okay. All right. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to the mayor for his presentation of the Veteran of the Month.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we are honoring James F. Groover Jr. James Groover was drafted in 1953 for service in the Korean War. He honorably served our country within the U.S. Army until April of 1955. With Company H, 19th Infantry Regiment, Jim spent 1 year, 5 months, and 21 days in Korea. Because of his military rank freed by then President Harry Truman, Jim's rank was private, changed with responsibilities of section sergeant in charge of the 105 millimeter recoils for rifles that were mounted on Jeeps. Following his active duty, Jim enlisted in the National Guard, making the rank of sergeant. After an honorable discharge, Jim worked at the casting foundry at General Motors until it closed in 1984. James F. Groover Jr. received the following awards: National Defense Service Medal, the United Nations Service Medal, Korean Service Medal. And I just wanted to say thank you to James F. Groover Jr. for your honorable service to our country and your dedication to the city of Tonawanda. Thank you very much. You want to turn around, I want to use presenting this, sir. This sir is presenting a month, taken by move by myself and Council President John Cook. And it's our way of saying thank you. Okay, and that's, I think we could do so much more we would, and what's gonna happen is this copy here is gonna be placed out in the corridor for the whole month until the next month, that's in Longest Street. Okay. The day was tomorrow, it's in October, okay. So, yeah. You're the honorable person today.
That's on me. And as soon as they break for their photo, everybody who's here with Jim, come out and do a family photo with the mayor and the council president. Everyone, come on up. Yeah, we're all gonna stand right there facing outwards, and then I'll grab a family photo for everybody.
I'm gonna get out of the way.
You know, the family, you're all standing back too. It's all, you guys are getting. Thank you, everybody. Family, congratulations.
Right, Maggio. Well,
I forgot the right. I have it. I'll do it tonight. As soon as I get home. I have it. I know. I always forget Tuesday mornings. I have it for you.
Okay. That was beautiful. All right, communications from the mayor have been ordered and filed. Communications from city officials and correspondents have also been ordered and filed. Common Council is not going into executive session. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public on the resolutions. Mr. Clerk, we have a comment on the floor.
Chris Bowles, 28 Brown Street, City of Tonawanda. This is for resolution 4, I believe. Renaming Broad Street Park after my mother, Linda S. Bowles. Just asking all you guys to vote yes, obviously, please do that. And quick background on my mom, she was with Parks and Rec for 41 years. 10 years before that, she did other stuff, all of it with youth kids. It's like every week I have somebody coming up to me, and people on this board saying to me, thank you for your mother. It's been happening since I've been this tall. And I never knew what it really meant until she passed. So it would mean a lot to me and the family. My brother's here, Sean Bowles, my cousin, Brad Dalkey, my wife, Mel Bowles, my sister couldn't be here because she's doing what my mom would want her to do, and that's attending her son's wrestling and adding to work. She wants to be here though. So just please vote yes, and my mom would absolutely love it. And me and my cousin Brad back there, we have a small woodworking business. We're gonna make a sign on our own dime. We'll pay for everything. And if you guys want, we can give you guys plans of the sign too, if you guys want to see them beforehand. We got a couple of different designs we've been thinking of. It's really hard for me to spot down like this. So just, my mom would really appreciate that, the family would really appreciate that, and God bless my mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Mr. Clerk, anyone joining us virtually wish to address the council on the resolutions?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's proceed.
Resolution number
Mr.
one,
Mylan,
resolve that the common council minutes from December 3rd, 2024 be accepted as filed.
sponsored by Mr. Mylan. Do we have a second?
Second, Madam President.
Seconded by Mr. Rounstrau. Comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
I declare the resolution adopted.
resolution number two, sponsored by Councilmember Mylum, resolve that the bills be allowed as audited.
I'll second. Comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
I declare the resolution adopted.
resolution number three, sponsored by the council.
And
Whereas the
seconded by the council, Mr. Clerk.
Yes. Noted. Whereas the title of this ordinance has been published at least once in a newspaper of general circulation, more specifically on November 26, 2024, in accordance with section 2.047 of the city charter. Now therefore be it resolved that Chapter 62 entitled Traffic and Vehicles, Article 5 Traffic Schedules, Division 2 Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Section 62-202, Schedule 24, Loading Zone shall be amended to include the following: Delaware Street, the east side, 110 feet north of Elgin Street to a 0.55 feet northerly thereof. Be it further resolved that all other sections of said ordinance shall remain unchanged and in full force and effect. And be it further resolved that the above amendment shall take effect upon publication of its title in an official newspaper of the city of Tonawanda.
Comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
I declare the resolution adopted.
resolution number 4, sponsored by Councilmember Fisher, seconded by Councilmember Rounstrau. Whereas Linda S. Foles was employed by the city of Tonawanda for over 41 years, from March 1978 to July 2019, and whereas Linda S. Foles was promoted to Recreation Director in 1994, and whereas Linda S. Foles was the creator and original member of the Tonawanda Gateway Harbor Corporation and formerly served as president, and whereas Linda S. Foles was a dedicated member of the City of Tonawanda Youth Board, now therefore be it resolved, the Common Council hereby names the park located at 279 Broad Street in the City of Tonawanda the Linda S. Foles Park, and be it further resolved that this name change shall take effect on January 1st, 2025.
Comments or questions?
Comment.
Mr. Fisher.
I'd like to thank the family, the Foles family, for coming out, putting your comments on the record for us. January 1, so we'll always know every year. We can always look back. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 5 by Councilmember Cook.
Council President Cook.
Cook, excuse me.
Do we have a second? Not hearing a second, the resolution has been defeated on the floor.
Resolution number 6, sponsored by Councilmember Fisher.
Seconded by Councilmember Rounstrau.
Whereas on October 21st, 2024, the mayor granted permission in writing to the Tonawanda Soccer Club to place a shed not exceeding 144 square feet on a city pad located at Ives Pond in the city of Tonawanda. And whereas the Tonawanda Soccer Club will provide the city of Tonawanda a certificate of insurance naming the city of Tonawanda as an additional insured. And whereas the Tonawanda Soccer Club will file for a building permit when placing said shed, be responsible for all repairs and claims regarding their own shed, and the rights and ownership of the shed belong to the Tonawanda Soccer Club. And whereas the ability for the Tonawanda Soccer Club to have a shed on location at Ives Pond is advantageous to both the city and club to continue to promote youth sports and fitness. Now therefore, be it resolved, the Common Council hereby authorizes the mayor to enter into a signed agreement with the Tonawanda Soccer Club retroactive to October 21st, 2024, and be it further resolved that this agreement shall have no expiration date, but can be revoked by a resolution of the council after an initial period of 5 years. And be it further resolved that any relocation of the shed at Ives Pond shall be with the consultation of the Department of Public Works Superintendent and or the Parks Department Director.
Comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum.
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. For those that are joining us in person, please approach the microphone. For those that are joining us virtually, there's a spot for you to raise your hand. Please do so, and the clerk will call upon you. Mr. Clerk, we have a comment on the floor.
Bill Simon, 6 Plymouth, excuse my ignorance, but now that we've decided to pass on resolution 5, what happens? Are you able to answer that? Is it have to be
You
reintroduced?
can answer. Yeah, the council can reintroduce it.
So now we're going into next year,
That's correct.
but through at that time, but not at the point.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Mr. Clerk, anyone joining us virtually wish to address the council?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
All right, Mr. Rounstrau.
Thank you, Madam President. Just like to start out as usual, say thank you to James Grover for your honorable service. Certainly, it's much appreciated, and it's an honor to hear more about you. Thank you. Just to comment, Mr. Simon brought up in regards to the resolution. Number 5, I do want to say that I don't think it's fair for the rest of the department heads for this to have fallen just because of a singular item. I don't know if it should have been tabled or scratched that one item, but I guess ultimately my answer is fix the problem and reintroduce the resolution. We shouldn't be waiting this long on an answer from the state. It should be being pursued actively by our local civil service, by our city attorney. But the position is still sitting there as a holdover and unresolved, and it should be resolved before we make a decision on that, or separate it out and vote on the rest of the races. Finally, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates. Wish everybody a great new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rounstrau. Mr. Fisher.
For the Chris Fisher Gives Back, capping 1 year, 26 payments, 24 payments, I'm sorry, $1,200. It went to the Tonawanda Junior Police Academy, care of Jason Balling. I'd also like to say thanks to Jim Groover for his service. He told me the story of how he ended up in Korea. He's actually from Pennsylvania. Got in a fight with the guy who was employing him on the farm. The guy turned him into the draft board and he got drafted, and off to Korea he went. Again, thank you to the Foles family for coming out for Linda Foles Park. And Tonawanda Soccer, for those who go to Ives Pond and never sees Tonawanda Soccer there. If you've ever come out to the tournament day and whatnot, they do a lot of work. They drag out their tents, they did chairs, all that stuff. Now they have a shed. They're gonna be able to have a shed on site, so they won't have to do that. They keep the AED there, they keep the tents there, the chairs. It'll make things a lot easier. So that'll be really good for Tonawanda Soccer. That's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Mylum. Thank you, Mr. Mylum. Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Number one, James Gruber, thank you very much, Junior, for your service, of course. Linda Foles, God bless you. God bless the family. We miss you. Couple things is the city lighting contest. You probably saw it on Facebook page and on the city page. We do have winners being picked out. They'll be picked up before the end of this week. I'll put them on the city page and also put them on my page. There'll be a first and second and third place winner, sponsored by John Fiorella, Fiorella's Landscape and Lighting. So that will be done. I just don't want to put something out there so the public doesn't know what's going on with it. So we will have a winner. So I do appreciate that everybody watches that. And so everybody knows too, I said this at 6 o'clock, but there's trees missing down at the park over at between Town American Little League and the Ice Pond. It's a liability concern. They were infested with insects. Some were ash borer, the emerald ash borer. My concern is limbs coming down on a kid. My concern are limbs coming down on a car. I took 3 or 4 pictures of 3 or 4 different trees, and anybody that's in this room is more than welcome, or anybody else to look at those pictures, because it's an accident waiting to happen. And I teach liability for the state of New York for almost 40 years. And the one thing I'm not going to happen is fall into that. I'm not going to let that happen. So those trees are coming down. They are almost down. If they're not down by now, for a reason. So I made that decision along with our arborist and along with the Parks and Rec. 'Tis the season. What I mean by that is 'tis the season. I want to thank to all the sponsors and the workers who helped made Rock and Roll Santa a great event. It was a huge success, over 150 families, 600 kids, and 1,800 toys. That's what they came up with for the event. It's a great event. Thank you to the Lions Club for the work that they did, generating coats and gloves throughout the city. I thank them for that. And also the Kiwanis Club, the Exchange Club, and the St. Francis Outreach for what they do at this time of the year. I'll tell you, it's a taskless force. You just keep doing it every year, and they love it. And I thank those people for what they do. Second from last is do something nice for somebody. 'Tis the season. Help somebody in your neighborhood. Help a friend. Help a relative. There's always people hurting out there. Help somebody. I just think it's a great thing, and make it your resolution for this Christmas or New Year's. Help somebody. And for the department heads, I do apologize. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned at the start of our council meeting 3 years ago today, then Council Member Tom Newman passed away. And I look in our council chambers and I see a former councilwoman, Dawn Cameron-Diner, who sat up here, sat right next to Councilmember Newman, sat next to him for a few years. We all remember this day. Councilmember Mylum, Councilmember Rounstrau also served with Councilmember Newman. I had an opportunity to reach out to his family today and just let them know that we're thinking of him. In fact, after he died, I grabbed his nameplate and I carry it with me, just as a reminder of why we do what we do. Councilmember Newman was a true testament of that, through his service with the fire department, his volunteer work with baseball, and his time on the council. So certainly he's in my thoughts and prayers, and I just ask that when you leave tonight, you think of the Newman family. I know what it was like when the council president at the time in 1938, was sitting up here, and he was reflecting on another council member who had passed away in office. And, you know, that was the last time that happened in the city of Tonawanda before Councilmember Newman. That was in 1938. I even reached out to our city historian, and just said, what, you know, tell me what our council president's name back in 1938 was. And he responded to that text in record time. So, thank you. And, again, Tom, you're missed, and, we appreciate all you did for the city. We always remember our first boss, right? No matter how many years you've been working. Well, Linda Foles was my first boss. And, in fact, she assigned me as a park attendant to the very same park that, we just named in her honor tonight. And, I had known the Foles family my entire life, but it was a true honor to work for Linda. I saw firsthand how much she loved the city of Tonawanda and her family. So, this is a well-deserved recognition. I thank you all for being here tonight. Certainly, congratulations to our Veteran of the Month. Thank you for your commitment to our community and to our country. I think it's a true testament to one's life when you can pack an entire place, and that's what our Veteran of the Month did this evening. So thank you to him and his entire beautiful family for coming out tonight. I want to invite the public to a homeless memorial candlelight service, which will take place this Saturday at 6 p.m. at the Salvation Army. Please join us as we honor and remember those lives who've been lost to homelessness. And I want to thank everybody who played a role, and it's a wonderful night. It was a beautiful evening. So thank you all for that. And I know the mayor will be coming out with information about a New Year's Eve ball drop. So thank you for all, Mayor North Tonawanda, Austin Talek, and Mayor White for their efforts in bringing out a ball drop. All right, with that said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Thank everybody for coming. Have a wonderful holiday and Merry Christmas. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Armstrong. All those in favor? All right, have a great night, everybody.